is that marvelous time of our Sunday morning where we move to our heart space. So I invite you to take a long, deep breath. And when you exhale, release whatever cares or concerns you may have brought with you this morning. Take another long, deep breath, drawing in oxygen, and then releasing carbon dioxide. One more long, deep breath, inhaling peace and presence. As you exhale, relax. Sink more deeply into your chair. Feel that chair support you, reminding you that you are so solidly supported in your earthly journey. With awareness on our heart center, oneness comes to mind. We are one. One with that incredible intelligence that created all that exists. We are one with all of creation. We are one with each other. We are one, whole and complete, without separation, within ourselves. From that awareness of oneness, that sense of oneness, we relax and we bask in that divine presence, in the silence. Refreshed and inspired by our time of oneness with all that is, we are inspired. Inspired to service with joy and delight. Inspired to use our words impeccably. We speak words of peace, words of wholeness, words of prosperity and success and abundance, and we create it. We are so grateful, Mother, Father, God, for our divine gifts and for guidance in developing them and using them lovingly and effectively. And so it is. Thank you, Kathy and Kathleen. And good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Unity, a place of guarantee. I mean, how many places in life can you go where you're guaranteed good results and a happier, fuller, healthier, more joyful life? You get it here. Part of our guarantee, part of our process, especially in the month of August, is through an exploration of the book, The Four Agreements. Many of you are familiar with it. You read it? Do you live it every single day? I know. We do fall into our humanity every now and then, don't we? The Four Agreements actually tells us it is guaranteed to change our life as we get a handle on those four agreements and actually live from them every day. The Four Agreements is a book that's based on Toltec wisdom. Comes from what we know of now as Central America. The Toltecs were considered by some as a nation or a race of people, but that's not correct. The Toltecs were a society, a group of people that got together to explore spiritual knowledge and practices. And one of the things that continues to fascinate me over the years is when I look at wisdom, spiritual wisdom, no matter where it comes from the Toltecs in Central America, from the Christians, the Jews, from Gandhi, from the Buddha to Unity, the core teachings are all the same. That's wisdom. Wisdom doesn't shift and change. It makes it easier for us to get our arms around it, no matter what path we happen to follow. The Toltec society was known as women and men of knowledge. In fact, they had a pyramid outside of what is now Mexico City with a complicated Toltec name that means where man becomes God. Wow, that's a powerful promise. The Toltecs honored all of the spiritual masters that have taught and walked on planet Earth over time. And they were distinguished by teachings that enable people to readily access happiness and love. Anybody here interested in just a little more happiness and love in your life? I don't know if I like my husband being quite so enthusiastic. Do we need to talk? The Four Agreements and spiritual principles in general replace conflict, drama, and needless emotional suffering. The Four Agreements is given to us in the book by Don Miguel Ruiz. It's a formula for happiness, for personal freedom, for love, and for respect of self and all of life. So we're going to explore Sunday to Sunday through the month of August each of the Four Agreements. This is an opportunity for each of us to open our hearts, our eyes, our minds, and our imagination to the many gifts that come when we embrace such spiritual wisdom. The first of the Four Agreements is be impeccable with your word. Impeccable. What does that mean? What is that about? How do we be impeccable with our word? We know in Unity, we know through Toltec wisdom and through all the other wisdom teachings that our word is creative. Whatever we say, what comes out of our mouth, we are imbuing it with our own creative energy. Everything in the manifest world, everything in the physical world started with words, regardless of the language spoken. What you dream, what you feel, what you really are is all manifest through your words. It's not just a sound or a written symbol. Words are force. They're the power you have to express and communicate, to think, and to create. Unity puts it this way: words carry the power and authority of the consciousness where they originate, and are most powerful when spoken. Listen to that again. Words carry the power and authority of the consciousness where they originate. That's my consciousness, that's your consciousness. And are most powerful when they're spoken. Biblically, we see in John 1, chapter 1, verse 1, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was with God. We know the creation, if we go back to Genesis, was intricately linked to the Word. God said the Word, let there be light. And the result, there was light. Your word is the most powerful tool you have as a human being. Well, that's exciting news. We can create a lot of wonderful things with our words. We can create heaven on earth with our words. We can also create hell on earth with our words. It's a two-edged sword. And we have to pay close attention to what's coming out of our mouth, to how we're using our words, and to be discerning. Are we using our words to build, to create, to uplift? Or are our words destructive, hurtful, harmful? Consider, not that long ago on this planet's history, Hitler. Think of the destruction and death and violence his words incited. Think of the fear, the terror, the horror that all started with what came out of his mouth. Our minds are such fertile ground. Seeds are being planted constantly. Seeds that get planted in our minds are opinions, ideas, concepts. When seeds are planted, they begin to take root, they begin to grow. Our words are like seeds. What seeds are we planting in our mind? What seeds are we growing that come out of our mouth and change our world? Do we plant seeds of harmony, of love, or do we plant seeds of doubt and fear? Hitler gave us an amazing example of the awesome power of the word. Oh, but of course, none of us are Hitlers. Our words aren't destructive, are they? Or are they? Remember that childhood taunt? Sticks and stones can break my bones, but words can never harm me. Oh, come on, don't tell me I'm the only one that remembers that. Thank you. Words of others can harm us. This is not true. I have a brother who was not much of an academic performer. And due to that, I remember the neighborhood kids telling him he was stupid, dumb, he didn't get it. And he took those words in, and it did horrible things to his self-esteem. And I've watched him grow up over the years and move into manhood, and I can see how those horrible words that were lobbed at him as a child have affected how he behaves and functions in the world as an adult. Those words hurt him tremendously. Interestingly, it was discovered some years after he graduated from high school that he wasn't stupid. He was dyslexic. Had a very difficult time reading. So of course, performing academically was was almost insurmountable for him. But what I see in him is a brilliant creativity. He relates to things in a spatial setting, and he's wonderfully creative as he does the work he's called to do, which is in construction. Those words, though, those words he heard as a child were very destructive to his perception of himself. So we need to stop and ask ourselves, what words are we saying about others and to others? Are our words destructive, or are we building them up? And it can be subtle. We don't have to be a monster like Hitler. It can just be a casual comment that can hurt and cut deeply. The etymology of being impeccable with your word, the word impeccable comes from the Latin peccatus, which means error, mistake, sin. Now, we don't talk much about sin in unity. Impeccable, consequently, means without error, without mistake, without sin. In unity, we recognize what some would call sin thoughts or sin words as errors, mistakes, misunderstandings. In the Toltec wisdom, they go on to teach us that sin is anything you do that goes against yourself. Anything you do that goes against yourself? That means anything you do or say that goes against your true self, what we often refer to as that Christ presence within us, that spark of divinity. Anytime we say or do something that contradicts that, it's a mistake. It's an error, it's a sin. Okay, ready for another childhood taunt? I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. Remember that? That is spiritually accurate. When we use our words against others, we're actually speaking against ourselves. We're rejecting ourselves. We're sinning against ourselves, our true Christ self. Take this in. Everything you feel or believe or say that goes against yourself or others is an error, is a sin. When you speak against you speak against yourself. When you speak against others, you speak against yourself. When you judge and blame others. Being impeccable with our words means not sinning, not going against ourselves. And yet, in our humanity and our human condition, we make this mistake all the time. Our words are so powerful, and yet we manage to do harm with them, very often thoughtlessly and carelessly, without awareness of what we're really doing. We create chaos, we sow discord between races, between people, even between nations. Our destructive words pull others down, and we go right down with them. Words that blame, curse, guilt, or destroy, words of anger or jealousy, hate, they're all error words, all error thoughts, all sin words. And when we use those words, our creative, powerful words, that's the energy we're spewing out into the world, quite literally. And we know what we put out comes back to us. So I've been with this lesson this week, contemplating it and reading it and just being with the concepts and paying attention to what's going on in our country in terms of the upcoming elections. I've started to pay very close attention to the words some of our politicians are using. Are they using words that build people up? Are they using words that tear people down? Are they using words that promote unity? Are they promoting divisiveness with the words they use? I encourage you to pay attention, not only to the politicians, but to the people around you, and especially to what's coming out of your own mouth. What are your words doing? For as we monitor our words, that's when we begin to learn to be impeccable with our words. What words do you use when you speak of others? You know, sadly, the whole idea, the whole practice of gossip is a rather inbred form of communication in our culture. And when we talk about others, we feel better about ourselves. Not a healthy thing, not a spiritually uplifting thing, but that's the way we function when we're working from our humanity. And it's subtle. Gossip. It's emotional poison. And gossip isn't just saying, oh, so-and-so is horrible. They did this awful thing. Gossip can be as subtle as saying, oh, I met him, and he's really annoying. You've never met so-and-so, but you still now have an energetic impression through the words that were shared with you that that person is annoying, whether it's true or not. You see, when we hear those words and when we speak those words, we become emotionally imprinted. And we may become emotionally imprinted of something that's not even true. It's like a virus. Gossip affects everybody it touches. It's poison that harms the person it's directed at, and it also harms you. To be impeccable with our words means to use our words to praise, to uplift, never to tear down through ill speech or gossip. Another way, a correlating way to be impeccable with our words is through our own self-talk. Do you ever pay attention to what's going on in your own head? What are you saying to yourself? What are you telling yourself about yourself? Are all those words going through your head kind and gentle and uplifting? How many times do we criticize ourselves? I'm too tall, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too skinny. How could I be so stupid to do what I did? I'm not good enough. I don't deserve whatever. These words that we use against ourselves are also emotional poison. If you want to get a handle on how impeccable you are with your words, look at your own level of self-love and self-acceptance. Because how we regard ourselves, how we treat ourselves, is reflected in what we say about others. If we say something negative about someone else, a spiritually wise practice would be to stop and say, oh, how does that reflect me? And what am I going to do about it? How much you love yourself, how you feel about yourself, is directly proportional to the quality and the integrity and the impeccability of your words. Healthy self-love generates words of love, of compassion, of tolerance and understanding. Poor self-image, on the other hand, tends to generate words of criticism, judgment, destructive words and gossip about others. Doing our own self-work, nurturing those seeds of self-love, helps you be impeccable with your word. And in fact, loving yourself joyously unconditionally is part of your job in your spiritual journey. Of course, the best way to learn to do this is through a regular connection with Mother, Father, God, with higher power, and sound spiritual practices. Our time of prayer and meditation, just like we do on Sunday mornings, connecting with that divine within us and all around us. Connecting with higher spiritual ideas. Hanging out with people where you can discuss those higher spiritual ideas, understand them better, and practice them with each other. That's why a place like this can be so important in your life. Here we understand the principles. Here we have a chance to practice them and to lovingly self-direct and redirect when we fall short. As we know ourselves as magnificent creations of the Creator, as we love ourselves and accept ourselves unconditionally, seeing the very best in who we are, our words for self and others reflect this higher understanding. Be impeccable with your words. Pay attention to what you say. And if you don't like what's coming out of your mouth, change it. Change your thoughts and change your words. Focus on self-love. Develop yourself using spiritual principles. The psalmist in Psalm 19 says, "Let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord." Back in Old Testament times, in the times of the psalmist, the reference to the Lord would have referred to God outside of them. We know the Lord, if you will, is that divinity that's within each one of us, that purest, highest part of us, our Christ presence. This passage recognizes words that come from the meditation of our heart. Meditation of our heart, that's our most deeply held thoughts and beliefs. What this is saying is that the words of my mouth held, or that come from my most deeply held thoughts and beliefs, be acceptable to that Christ, to that divine facet of who and what I am. What a lovely prayer. To be impeccable with our words, we must consciously align ourselves with that Christ presence through prayer and meditation, through nurturing thoughts and beliefs of love and peace and kindness. Being impeccable with our words draws on one of the 12 powers of man. It draws on the power, the faculty of power. If you remember back to when we were going through the 12 powers, power isn't power over other people. Power is our own authority over our own emotions, our own thoughts, our own words, and our own actions. So as we develop that quality of power, we're better able to be impeccable with our words. And of course, to be impeccable with your words, you never, ever, 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 never, ever want to verbalize what you don't want. If you want to see more peace in the world, speak words of peace. If you want healing and wholeness for yourself and others, speak words of wholeness. If you want prosperity, abundance, speak words of prosperity and abundance. If you want success for yourself or the organization or others, speak words of success. Don't give what you don't want the power of your thoughts or your words. We know where our attention goes, that's where our energy goes. So we have to very conscientiously focus our energy, our thoughts, and our words on what it is we want. Being impeccable with our words means taking responsibility for our thoughts and our words and our actions without judgment or blame. To be impeccable with our words, we must express love in our interactions with ourselves and with others. To be impeccable with our words means to use loving, gentle, uplifting words all the time. To be impeccable with our words means using our energy in the direction of truth and love for yourself. For as we accept and support ourselves unconditionally, we also love and accept and support others. Our words are amazingly powerful and creative. What are you creating with your words? Let's join once more in our affirmation for the day.
Recognizing the creative power of my words, I use them consciously, carefully selecting those words that will create what I truly desire.
Be impeccable with your words, and so it is.